Welcome back to the VHS Vault. I'm one of your hosts, VHS Jace, and next to me is Mr. Jason Roy Gaston in the boiler room, I think.
Yeah, and it is very hot down here.
Very nice.
Yes.
We don't need nudity. No. You just said yes, it's warm.
You could always use some. Nobody ever needs it. It's just nice to have. It's like life insurance.
Well, we're gonna see some man nudity. We've picked the right film for this week, and that is, of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge, Jason.
Now, I have to stop you real quick because those of you watching at home may be asking yourself, wait a second, they did 1, 3, and then 4. Why are they only doing 2 now? Are they from the George Lucas school of numbering sequels? Well, funny story. We did do 2. We did 2 several weeks ago. And well, would you like to tell the rest of the story, Jace?
Well, let's just say we did film it, but I'm thinking due to quality control, it worked itself out anyway. No, we did record it. However, we were right in the middle of moving into our new home here on the Jason Roy Gaston channel. And unfortunately, I don't know who the moving company I hired, but somebody lost the file along the way. What makes it even worse is I claimed I still had it and was convinced I still had it for weeks and went, yeah, I'll upload it. And then when I came to actually upload it, I couldn't find it. So my fault. So we are kind of delving back, but this is a film that deserves a second review, Jason.
Absolutely, because if you have to repeat a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, if you have to watch it twice, why not part 2?
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, we should get into it because it is a film that probably, yes, definitely does. There's a lot of exploration going on in this film, so we should just get right.
There is certainly a lot of exploration going on in this movie. I don't know if you noticed, but the subtext is kind of it's kind of heavy. It's kind of out there. It's kind of in your face.
And you know what, Jason? Look, let's be honest. It is something that is so it is by design for people to discover. Like it's not very deep, the implication of what's going on in this movie. So it is designed for people to go, wait a second. That you can't talk about this movie without talking about scenes where it's clear that's what they're trying to achieve. So it said its love. We're very gay positive here. In fact, I think it's wonderful that this film exists. So any jokes we make, guys, we're yes, Team Pride all the way. All right. So let's get into, one of the gayest films ever made in the 80s. Freddy's Revenge.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Freddy's Revenge. The gay one.
The gay one.
Before we start talking about this, though, I do have to say, a lot like Star Trek in the 60s having to use analogy to talk about things that they just weren't allowed to talk about on the air, Freddy's Revenge is the same way. The director, the star, even Robert Englund have all come forward and said, yeah, this was a movie about a closeted gay man. We can sit here and debate the merits of this movie all we want, which was what we are going to do right now. But you do have to respect, for 1985, the bravery it took to tell a story like this with such a thinly veiled allegory. Because the symbolism and the allegory, it's right there. It's in your face. And you would really have to be the dumbest person on earth not to see it.
The genius of this the boldness of doing this and the pure genius of it, Jason, is here you get to send a gay positive message. And I think it is gay positive, trying to be like, these kids are in your high schools, guys. You can't, they're not all playing stereotypes here. And I think that's where Jesse works well. But the pure genius of being able to tell such a through a very popular medium like horror films. Knowing that you were going to be able to get this message through to a whole generation of kids who were going to the movies on a Friday or Saturday night, I think that is something that has to be appreciated as well. But you know what? There's absolutely, not sound like a sign for an episode, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the gay representation in this. Or you may have, or somebody else may have a different opinion on that. I think it's 1985 done as well as they could probably do with that time. What I'm trying to get at is, actually, I don't know what I'm trying to get up, except that's not the problem with the film. Everything else is, and we'll get on to
Yeah.
that now.
See, I have to disagree. I actually think that even the gay positive message that they try to give, I think it short circuits. And I don't think they quite give the message they meant to give. I applaud them for wanting to do it, but I'm going to take them for task in the way that they did it.
Does that come from a perspective of from today, looking back on it? Or do you think even from at that point of view, in that time period, looking at it, it was still a failure to deliver what could have been?
I would say now, keep in mind, in 1985, I was 9 years old. But I still think that even from that viewpoint of we're taking on a subject that we're not allowed to talk about, let's use allegory, I still think it was done badly, even from the get-go. And it is because let's face it, they were using Freddy Krueger as an allegory for Jesse's homosexuality. I think we can pretty much agree on that. Freddy Krueger is a child murdering psychopath. Already, we've got a serious flaw in this right now. So if they were wanting to be gay positive, I think they went about it in the wrong way. And I know that was not their intention. I know it was not their intention at all to be like that. But that's how it be. And that's how it is.
Interesting. I never took it as that part of it that way, but I can absolutely see where you're coming from for it. I think it also is indicative if you look at films that Hollywood made about African American culture back in the 60s and how racially simplistic and its racist approach without it intending to be racist in a way kind of transfer when you look at from the sexuality point of view. I think they've tried to do something that they think is progressive, but inherently may have come across homophobic without intention.
Quite possibly. We could sit here and debate it forever.
Yes, I could
give my point of view. Yeah, I could give my point of view. You could continue to be wrong, and it's fine. Let's talk about the movie itself, though.
Let's get into it. Well, I think we're going to have a lot to agree on this one, though, Jace. So let's get.
I'm sure we will.
Let's get into what is the opening and a good, solid. I love the opening of this film because I like the setting. It's a bust. It's really mysterious. It's kind of what's going on here. The music's indicating something's not right, and as it starts to speed up and that, I thought it was a great little opening, and I thought it was a nice way to reestablish where we were. And this is a film about high school kids.
Yes, and I fully agree. I think the opening to this movie is fantastic, especially to people with sharp eyes, because Robert Englund has a blink and you miss it cameo as the bus driver. So right there, right out of the bat, something. Oh, look at that. Keen eyes, sharp mind. Very good. But yeah, right there, something's wrong. Also, something very interesting about this movie is that it's the only Nightmare on Elm Street movie that does not use the Freddy Krueger theme. That dun, 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 dun. It never uses that theme.
At all in this film?
At all. Never once.
Wow. I didn't pick up on that, but wow, that's a fairly iconic bit of music to be missing out of your sequel.
It is, but the Imperial March was never used in the first Star Wars movie either. So you just never realize it until until somebody tells you, and then you listen to it and you're like, hey, they're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I think really, they've from the get-go, Nightmare on Elm Street's practical effects have been pretty decent. I mean,
always. You can never fault the effects.
Really good. And even the opening, and this is not gore effects, but just the idea of this bus just kind of balancing off this thing was done really well. The model work and
fantastic miniature work. I miss practical effects like this. I do. It just you can tell
tangibility, isn't there?
Yeah, Patrick Tatopoulos, who was the special effects guru for this movie that I absolutely adore called Dark City, he talked about how he thought it was important to make special effects actually look a little fake because it sells the idea that you're watching a movie and you don't feel like everything has to be perfect. And that's something I miss about 80s and 90s special effects is that They looked good, but they didn't look perfect. But that's okay. It's just a movie.
Mm.
Let's get back
But
to
you're
that without
always
having to make everything look.
wowed.
Yeah. I don't know.
But you're always wowed at how close they were getting.
Oh,
That's
it
what's
looked
great
great.
about it. You know they were never going to achieve it, but they were always getting a little bit better at that stuff, and that's what was exciting. And CGI had a different problem, didn't it? Where it got now to that uncanny valley, where photorealistic Lion King doesn't mean, it still works.
No, I mean, let's look at The Flash. We all know what we're talking about when we say The Flash. Instantaneously, it's dead-eyed Superman and dead-eyed Wonder Woman and dead-eyed Barry Allen. Yeah, it's just
My theory is they were running out of money and went, "We're going to go with a stylistic choice. Let's make them look, kind of drawn and cartoony because we're out of money."
The real story behind that was that Warner Brothers paid a special effects house a certain amount of money and gave them a deadline, and the special effects house is like, "There's no way we can get this done by this deadline," and Warner Brothers said, "We don't care. We don't care if it looks good or not. We just want to make money." And that worked out well for them, didn't it? All I'm saying is David Zaslav is the devil.
David Zaslav, the axe of Zaslav that's come through recently. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's the devil.
Anyway, let's move back. We're talking different enough, devil. Let's get back into Freddy.
I know.
And with a nice little dream sequence, we get introduced to our forever damp character of this movie.
He
Jesse.
is, isn't he?
He is constantly sweating, this poor lad.
Oh my gosh. He's got some kind of medical condition. Obviously.
It's so interesting to have the hero of the movie not be heroic.
He's not.
He's the victim. The entire movie, he is just a victim.
Also, the only protagonist in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie that's male. All the others have been female. He's the only guy who Freddy targets.
Yeah.
And the actor, I don't remember his name. I just had it up. But the actor actually prides himself on being a male scream queen. Mark Patton. Yes, thank you. Yes. Mark Patton prides himself on being a male scream queen. And he said that's why Jesse screams like he does. He's paying tribute to the scream queens. And Mark Patton, who is an openly gay actor, he's a screaming queen. So there you go. I thought it was a really kind of a cool choice.
It was, and because you would have read the script and you're going, well, look, I am playing the damsel in distress in this. I'm going to have to, pay homage to that at least. Very cool. Very cool. And he does I will say his performance in it, his ability to read lines and all is great. All right.
He's a fantastic actor.
Massively.
Very much so.
He knows how to deliver lines and was very, very competent in this film.
He does. And, we talked about, Thursday night from Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Tuesday. We were talking about how terrible her line delivery was. Mark Patton is pretty much given the same thing, and he nails it. Yeah. He nails it. Arguably, he even has worse lines, but he nails it every single time.
Yeah. And like he's really good in the sense of trying to carry together a fairly flimsily structured movie. I mean, you start to even the beginning of we're getting to know now his environment, his world. He's at high school. We're getting to meet the gym teacher, which comes up later. We get to see that he plays sports, but he's completely uncoordinated. We get to see he's a misfit. And it's established very early on, isn't he? Jesse is not a cool kid by any stretch of the imagination. However, he does have a girlfriend, as you can see pictured here, played by Kim Myers, I believe. She's quite good, Jason. I thought she plays a very tough role to play in this movie because she's the boyfriend, right? In a way,
kind of. And she was cast because of her resemblance to Meryl Streep, by the way. And if you look at it, I didn't realize it until I heard that, and then I looked at it. I was like, you know what? She does look like Meryl Streep.
Very much so, she does. Absolutely, she does. But yeah, it does a kind of fine performance. We also are introduced in the beginning as an enemy, you know, I've seen this actor before. I think his name's Robert Rustler. I have
Yes.
seen him before in things on TV, but he plays a good frenemy, you would say, in this movie.
Yeah,
And
he's
yeah.
kind of a stereotypical d-bag, but he's I think at his heart he's a good guy.
Mm. Well, when you're getting into this kind of, you have a template you've got to follow at this point. In 1985, slasher films are very much following a template, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely.
So their stereotypes abound. I mean, you have to have them to help you. At that time, the thought is you have to have these characters to help the story function. So we've got our setup there. We've got a guy who's very awkward. He's uncoordinated. He's got a girlfriend. He's in his new home because they only moved in there recently, hadn't they?
Oh yeah, they got the house cheap for some reason.
Never asked any questions.
No, of course not. You get a good deal, you don't ask questions.
Yeah, so they kind of moved in. So this is the thing. He still lived in the neighborhood then because that's what the implication is. If he's got a girlfriend and he's established at school, they've moved from the neighborhood to just another street by the looks of it. I would assume so.
That's my thought, yeah.
Yeah, I would assume so. So either way, so they moved into the new home. What did you think of the family they've got around young Jesse here?
Why are the parents in Elm Street movies just the absolute worst people in the world?
Is Elm Street really a story about a town just full of the most horrible people who spawn children?
Exactly.
And maybe Freddy's just doing the right thing by making sure that this doesn't, like a locust plague, expand throughout middle America.
Freddy is the hero that we never appreciated and never knew that we needed.
They are horrible parents, especially him. Love the actor, mind you, because I do like that actor. But he is an absolute real D-bag as well. So
absolutely. Yeah, I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but when Jesse is brought home by the police and they tell the mom and dad, we found him naked on the side of the road wandering, they bring him in and the dad instantly starts asking him, what are you on? What kind of drugs are you on? You need a methadone clinic. My first thought would be, who did this to you?
Yeah, are you okay?
Are you okay? What can I do for you? Not, what drugs are you on? Oh, my God.
Hey, I think the dad
horrible parents.
Score, to be honest with you, he wanted some of the drugs.
Yeah.
And really, Jason, ask yourself this about this movie: is there anyone really to root for in this movie?
Well, you got
because they don't do a good job with Jesse. They don't do a good job with him though, because
they don't. But you know what?
I think him a chance to be the hero for someone to root for. They don't set him up in a way that you can traditionally root for the character.
I disagree. I think that the actor imbues Jesse with enough vulnerability that you honestly have no choice but to root for him, that you want him to be okay at the end, because he's not a bad person. He just has a lot of bad things happening for him. And I think that Jesse's girlfriend, we call her a beard in some circles. I think that she was a pretty good character as well. Everybody else were awful. They were just awful people. Yeah, she is the hero.
I suppose she's the hero, and I suppose you can root for her. It's just, you know, I don't usually root for them. Yeah, I want the meek and innocent and victims to be safe and all that kind of thing, but I usually don't root for them. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to say you're right. You got to root for the girlfriend / boyfriend in this scenario.
Well, Jesse is, as you said, Jesse is the damsel in distress. Jesse's girlfriend, and I feel bad that I don't remember her character's name, but Jesse's girlfriend is the knight in shining armor. Honestly, it's a pretty nice subversion of the trope. Lisa. Yeah. Lisa, help me, Lisa.
Exactly.
Lisa, help me. Yeah. I should have remembered that.
Either way, yes. So as we discussed, yes, Jesse is clearly playing a gay character in this movie. And they also do the right thing by having some fun with it. I think one of the most goofiest scenes in this movie. I particularly love, and it's the one that's become the meme, but it's just a lot of fun. And that's Jesse in the bedroom dancing away while he's packing his stuff away, because it is fun. It's the one moment of levity that poor character gets to have in the entire movie.
Yeah, and it's there because of Risky Business. Let's be honest. It's just Risky Business is a popular movie. What can we do to exploit that? Hey, Jesse, can you dance? Can I dance? Of course I can.
Yeah. He's got the moves too, maybe for 1985.
He does. You know, the girls know how to dance. That's just how it is. I can't explain it. It just happens.
I've been rewatching it again last night. I'm looking at it again. I'm laughing at the scene going, yeah, you know what? He does deserve to have a bit of fun, because he sure doesn't get any more in this entire film. And it's the only time that he's not scared.
Yes.
It feels like the only time in this film he is not terrified.
Yeah, so it's a deservedly fun scene, and I'm all here for it. I like seeing Jesse have fun and being happy. That's all I want during this movie is I want Jesse to be happy, and it never happens.
We also get introduced to probably a very important character of this entire franchise, because they really go to the way to make it a character in this film, and that's the house, right?
Yes. Yeah.
The house becomes the character for the franchise in this movie. Because we keep cutting back to that house. We have now got history with that house, and the movie even, you know, with the diary later on, again, it's really supporting that thing about the house. It's kind of, they're bringing a little bit of Amityville horror into the game a little bit.
They are. They were going to. They had a scene. Apparently, I don't know if they filmed it or not, but they were going to explain that Freddy was somehow bound to that house. But they never filmed it, and so it's not canon. Also, Heather Langenkamp was never asked to return for this movie. I know a lot of people think that she didn't want to come back. She was never asked. And another person who almost was not asked to return as well was Robert Englund. He was actually asking for a pay raise to come back for the second movie, and New Line was like, no, we're just going to get your body double to play Freddy, because you two look alike anyway. 2 weeks of filming went by with Robert Shea, Robert Englund's stunt double, playing Freddy Krueger, and New Line realized they screwed up big time, and so they fired the stuntman, brought back Robert Englund, and met every single one of his demands. It was like the writer's strike all over again.
Well, you know, yes, the physicality is one thing, but Freddy really emotes with his face. So that was very dumb.
He does. And you know what? Especially after seeing the remake all those years ago, which we are going to do eventually, just not now. Seeing somebody else play Freddy Krueger feels wrong, because Freddy is iconic. He is an iconic character. You can put anybody behind a hockey mask. I love you, Jason Voorhees, but I never notice when somebody new is back there. But Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger, and Robert Englund will be Freddy Krueger long after Robert Englund is no longer Robert Englund.
It's fair to say this movie, in the way, if you look at it as part of the whole franchise, it's really still trying to find its feet. It doesn't know what it has, and this movie is an indication of that. They really don't know what they have. It's not until the next film that they really kind of realize what they can do with this. And so this is very much a rehash. And it is the Sean S. Cunningham vibe of sequels, isn't it? Get a new main lead. She could change up the bad guy, you know, fire a different actor and just go through the same thing again. But I'm glad they do enough in this film to give it a little bit different. And I think they build upon the last movie in some ways by at least having the lore of that story become fundamental to the third act as such.
They do, but on the other hand, they break a lot of the rules that they established in the first movie as well. And I think that really hurts this movie as well. I will say that New Line Cinema actually had a lot riding on Nightmare on Elm Street 2, because if this movie had failed, New Line Cinema was going to fail. And this movie was a success, and so that's why New Line Cinema became known as the house that Freddy built.
It is known as the House of Freddy Beauty. Now, going back on what you were saying about breaking some of the rules, let's get into that. Like, one of them that really bothers me is the house getting hot and the bird exploding scene.
Well, not only that, but it looked stupid.
It did look stupid, it's the first indication to go, wait a minute, they're awake.
Yeah.
They're starting to break the rules now. Yeah.
Yeah. Freddy's power works while people are awake. It's the only movie that happened in. It's the only movie it's happened in since. And of course, the worst father in the world blames Jesse for the bird bursting into flames in front of them. Did you have a cherry bomb? Yeah. What did I do? Feed the cherry bomb to the bird? Come on.
Yeah.
Worst dad ever.
He is that is the epitome, that scene, isn't it? They must have been laughing after they filmed that, going, that was the worst, wasn't it?
I cannot imagine. Just the worst father in the world. He gives Alice, not Alice. He gives, oh my gosh, what's her name from the third movie? Gives her mother a bat.
Kristen.
Yeah, Patricia Arquette's mom from the third movie gives her a run for her money. Kristen, thank you. Oh, gosh, I can never remember these characters' names.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard with well, you know what? Go watch our review of Dream Warriors and the Dream Master, now up on the VHS Vault. Check them out, see what we thought of them. But back to this one. It's round the end of the first act to the third act. I don't care. I don't care about this movie. And there's some good stuff that's happening in it, but it's got no rhythm, no flow. It's just jumping from scene to scene. That bird scene that I mentioned should have had an impact. Didn't have nothing. It's not really. It's what do we think about and this is the second act, probably big scene from the second act. Jesse, struggling, starts just wandering the streets, right? I don't know, and I can't still figure out to this day, is he sleepwalking or is he wandering?
I couldn't tell you either. Are we talking about after the thing with the coach happens?
This is leading to the coach because he's wandering in the streets and then goes to a gay bar and has a drink at a gay bar where his coach finds him.
Right. And this begs the question, in the 1980s, if a public school teacher caught a student at a gay bar, do you want to know what would happen? The school teacher would go, I didn't see nothing, and back away. I didn't see nothing. You didn't see nothing. It's the 80s. See you in school on Monday. That would be it.
No, like a good 80s teacher's going to punish him. He's going to punish him.
I'm going to punish you for something you're doing after school time.
You know what, though? Let's be honest. As we're watching it, right, and you see him in that leather kind of singlet and you see them going back to the school, you're going, oh, no, where's this going? Where's this going? He's making him run laps. Shoo, that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. Go hit the shower. Oh, no.
No. What's
I'll
going
be in there
on?
in a minute.
I did like all the flying balls, though. Sorry, I just realized what I said.
That's how some of the movies start.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
No, the
Daddy's very angry with you.
And it's so hedonistic what happens to the coach in a way. But still, again, practical effects and how they did it. Yeah. You know, the old reverse footage shoot thing. It all works for me. And it's that's the scene where it could have fell off the cliff very easily, but I think it
comes dangerously close, though. It comes dangerously close because they were really leaning into the whole homoerotic closeted gay man thing right there. You know, you have the coach, this kind of antagonistic father figure who's in a gay bar, who takes this teenage kid back to punish him and then tells him to take a shower. Oh, yeah. And then is tied up, stripped naked, and whipped in front of this boy.
Yes.
Again, I'm not 100% certain if this is where they were going with the whole closeted homosexual analogy here. But I do think this is a part where it kind of goes in a direction they were not expecting it to, because it feels predatory at this point.
It does, but Jesse's reaction is horrified. I mean, he's
Yes,
horrified.
but
The
what is he
question I have,
horrified?
Jason, is it
Okay,
Jesse doing it? Was it Freddy come to the real world and doing that, or was it actually Jesse carrying it out now?
see, this is where I think the analogy of this movie fails, is because, again, I think they were using Freddy Krueger to represent Jesse's homosexuality. And every time Freddy comes out, something bad happens. And so, what were they trying to say with this? Homosexuals are dangerous, or stay
Wow.
closeted, or something bad is going to happen. Again,
It's
I
so
think
interesting you
this
say
is
that because
where the analogy falls apart.
I've thought of this at a surface level, and obviously from a kind of a very surface level perspective, going, they're representing, 1985, there wasn't good, any representation on film, so this is fantastic. And I suppose now what you're saying is, but look at the type of representation they were showing us, though. It's great, they were trying to do something bold, but yes, if you're keying in that character with a demon, they're going to get some, crossover there, aren't you? So, do you think this is the?
And again, I don't.
Christian...
I don't think that this came from a bad place, because I think the director was on board with the analogy. I know the actor was. I just think it was done in a very sloppy way that I don't think that they stopped to realize what they were saying.
Yeah. So I don't think there was ever the intent. I think we all agree on that. The intent was to make a good film, hopefully, make something that showed a little bit of representation, and just probably bad decision after bad decision, and poor editing choices have now crafted this thing that's kind of on screen. But there's that problem there, but you not only got that to deal with, Jace, you got to deal with, I don't know what's real and what's surreal. You know what I mean? And
it's all blurred by this point.
I'm okay to go with that at some points because you need that to help build the tension or the scene. The problem is there's nothing it's just random. It's random.
It is
rule breaking of their own universe.
It is, and to me that makes it all very confusing, and not in a good way. It's confusing in a very annoying way. It's almost like they're making it up as they go along.
Now the thing is, right? Do you think the cops would have been onto him quicker than, because they're really, not good at their jobs in this town? Because I reckon it's a good few days, isn't it? At least a couple of days of this kid wandering around, no cops come anywhere near him.
Well, the cops in Springwood are about as good as the parents are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably why.
The cops always have to be incompetent in movies like this.
Well, it's just no one, even if you have no one investigating, though. I mean, usually we get a cutaway from, recently divorced detective who's having a bad morning, who's now covered across the crime scene, but we're not even getting that. However, what we do get is Jesse just beside himself like you wouldn't believe. And he's escorted home, like the scene you mentioned, by a couple of cops who found him wandering on the streets.
It occurs to me, in later movies, I think starting in part 6, we learned that there is this conspiracy of silence in Springwood, that all the adults got together and said, let's never talk about Freddy Krueger again, because if our kids don't know about him, they can't be afraid of him. Who's to say that conspiracy of silence hasn't started yet? Maybe the cops know about Freddy Krueger and they know not to say anything about him.
Horror films of the 80s, it does remind you of there's also that implication that how disturbing middle America towns can be. How it's very cultish. You got Haddonfield, the same kind of thing in a way. You've got this going at Camp Crystal Lake, People know things, don't want to say nothing. Every
town has its secrets.
Yes, there's a lot of darkness in Middle America. That's what they're trying to do.
Oh, I'm sure there's some darkness in Australia as well. I've seen Wolf Creek. I know what goes down.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've seen some movies, mate. You know what it's like.
Oh yeah.
No, we have. Yes, you don't go north at night. Put it that way. You don't go up the highway up north at night. You do not do that. Anyway, back to here. Lisa has to be the most accommodating, understanding person on the entire planet at this point because also probably should have called an institution to go, I think he's losing it at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he really needs some help.
He says he killed someone. Should I be concerned? Oh, no, yeah, the person's dead. And he says he did it. Should I be concerned?
Yeah,
of course, the cops are just like,
that woman.
Yeah, the cops are just like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Do you
Don't
have a donut? My gun goes bang, bang.
It's clearly the cops in this universe are also Packlets as well.
Oh, absolutely.
People. Okay, so here's the weird thing. Jessie knows that her boyfriend is completely off tap at this point, right? This is from her perspective, right? She still decides to have the party the following night.
Yes, because you have to fight for your right to party.
Like that's. You got all this you got death and murder happening around you and that. Yep, let's have a party.
But that's an 80s trope. Every horror movie needs a party with teenagers. You don't cancel things like that for a few murders. There's safety in numbers, apparently.
Yeah. Like the fact that he even him as a character, this is one of Jesse's flaws here. If you're going through that, I don't know if my choice was, okay, I'll go to a party. I think my choice would be I'm hiding away in a corner from everything and everybody because I don't know what's going on. So dumb choice, Jesse, there, I would say. And then we get into and then the party starts, mate. It's like a fun party, poolside party.
Yeah. Robert Englund hated the party scene, by the way. He and the director hated the party scene because they did not think it was very realistic to have Freddy Krueger killing teenagers who were taller than he was.
No, there's a whole weird thing. I mean, obviously, this is the third act. The party's the third act, really, most of it, because the party starts and him and Lisa decide to get jiggy with it in the cabana in one of the most awkward interrupted scenes you're going to get in the film. And Freddy comes out really in the cabana, doesn't he? At some point, if I remember.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
He starts to come out. He comes out tongue out. Yes, just. Blah, blah, blah.
He comes out a little bit tongue out.
A little tonguey.
That doesn't work, and so he goes to his mate Grady's place.
And it is the most single homoerotic scene in the entire movie. Right there.
He goes to Grady and he goes, buddy, I am freaking out. I need you
Not only that, we got to talk about how awkward the scene is. Because he literally breaks into his friend's room while his friend is in bed in a very, undressed state, gets almost on top of him and says, I need your help. I need something from you. Can you give it to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the allegory is like gossamer thin at this point.
Yeah, like it's really dripping thick. They're not trying to hide it at all.
Yeah.
No, they're trying to reinforce it at this point.
Of course, I'm sitting at home going, kiss him!
I saw this in cinema at 10 years old and did not even register at all.
It registered with me. I'm watching it
at
going.
All. I was completely oblivious.
I'm watching this with friends, and that scene comes up where he gets in his bed with him, and I'm watching it with friends, just doing like this.
Did you just see that?
What's going on? Did we get this mixed up with another movie? What would have really been funny is if Grady did like lean up and kiss him, and Mark kind of went, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
I thought you want no. Oh, I'm sorry. That would have been hilarious. I don't care who you are.
Yes, absolutely. Look, I also got to say that kid that plays Freddy, his reactions to that scene seem to be almost like how you would react to it, like because he's baffled, he's weirded out, he's what am I doing? Like, what do you want from me? Like,
Oh,
and
we know what he wants from him. We
well, yeah,
know.
that's what's implied, but instead
Oh,
it ends up in one of the most well, if you're talking about analogies and implications, literally Freddy coming out of Jesse
yeah. He's
is
coming
it
out. He
that
wants the world to know. He's got to
yeah.
let it show.
The only problem if they'd staged that in front of the closet door, that would have been just perfect.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. Of
They
course,
should have done.
in this movie, if you come out, you're going to kill your friends.
Well, and that's just it, Now, okay, this is where I'm getting really bugged, right? So, Freddy has wanting to talk Jesse into killing people for him. This is the idea. Freddy wants to use Jesse as a kind of meat puppet, so he can kill everyone he wants.
He wants to get his hand up there and
but he's changed
control.
his mind because now he wants to go use Jesse as a portal from the dream world to the real world.
Well, like you said, they're making this up as they go.
But he comes out of this body, right?
Mm-hmm.
He turns into Freddy. He kills Grady, and then he turns back into Jesse. So he's got the ability to morph himself back to Jesse, who looks back smiling, evil at the camera.
Yeah,
I don't get it. He's out of Jesse, and then he can turn back into Jesse, and then what happened to the body behind against the wall? Like, because if it's all in a dream world, dude, doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter then.
Yeah.
But it's set in apparently the real world, so yeah.
They broke all the rules. They're making it up as they go. That's why this movie doesn't work. Even if you look past the gay analogy that I don't think works already, the fact that they don't respect the lore of the first movie is really where I think this movie fails ultimately.
Well, it doesn't know what Freddy is. Freddy's way more dangerous being that threat when you sleep because it's like, it's an inevitability that that's coming. It creates tension knowing that I'm going to fall asleep at some point. I'm going to take what I can take. I am going to drink as many Red Bulls as possible, but eventually sleep is going to happen, and that's when he's coming for me. It's such a beautiful way to build tension and that. And then to throw that basic concept out the window with this film is really bad. And yes, then we get into Freddy attacks on the party, Jason. That's not great. It is not great.
It's not. Like, I mean, we get kind of a funny Freddy quip, but it's just bad. Freddy using his Freddy using his powers in the real world is just bad. That's like Jason attacking people in broad daylight. That's like the Shape, not hiding behind things, just walking towards you like, hi. It's just wrong for the character.
It's just wrong. And comes to a weird end where he just bursts into a ball of flame after the cop.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So what happens now is Jesse and his girlfriend Lisa decide to, because they read it in her book, didn't they? Because they had Nancy Thompson's diary. So that's how they connected the lore from the first one, the second one. They found Nancy Thompson's diary. They're reading through it. Now, is it in the diary where they figure out, or is it? I think she's got news articles in there saying, "Hey, that's where it is. The boiler room is at some old power plant or something."
Yeah, I think she did some detective work of her own because I don't think Nancy knew where Freddy Krueger
worked. I don't think Nancy. That's what I was trying to figure that part out.
Yeah,
and then it cuts to, the most used set in the 80s, an old boiler plant.
We got to talk about the dogs first.
Oh, yeah,
the
dogs.
Weird dogs. Again, this is real world. And then we have these dogs with like doll faces on them. It's a
Freddy
we always we always talk about good. This series always has good practical effects, except this one part because it's bad.
It's to me, it was like kind of David Lynch or Razorhead type style, bizarre kind of
it's
makeup
really
effect
really
that
bad.
just didn't suit. No, they just did suit. So anyway, moving on now to basically the boiler plant, Jason, and the end of this film happens with a kiss.
Yeah.
And it does, right? Isn't the power of love is what saves Jesse? I know, right? And when you realize that, when you watch it, Jason, you realize that is the end of this movie. This is how it gets resolved by love. I think that's the moment that I'm standing up and expleting a few things at the screen.
Yeah, it's not good. It's pretty much the most cliched fairy tale ending you can possibly give.
And it's drawn out too, that whole scene. It's so drawn out.
But I will say, it is drawn out.
Great makeup effect with crusty Freddy all over and then pulling bits off.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
That's really good, really good.
And the melting Jason was done really well too with the puppet. I thought that looked really good.
Yeah, Melty Jason. Melty Freddy.
Melty Freddy, yes.
Yeah.
Wrong franchise.
Yeah. Wrong franchise. I don't know. Does Jason ever melt?
I'm sure he's got. Jason? He kind of melted in part 8 when he got dumped with toxic waste.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that though.
I don't know. I like that. I mean, come on. He punches a guy's head off. Go watch it on the VHS Vault. Jason Takes Man.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Either way, this is a film that ends in a boiler room with love. And then we get yes. So you're ending the film when I think anyone would have gone, what a letdown. Not even a climax, is it? Of a film. It's not leading to a pinnacle of a scene. It just flatlines. Big time. And then to tie it up, we do again, we tie it all up in a bow by going back to the first scene, but this time everybody's in the bus and everybody's happy. And then, we find out again, no, it's not true. It's Freddy. They're in the dream world. So, again, by this point, if you're not annoyed, by the time we get to that scene, you realize the entire plot of this movie was completely pointless and brought nothing really to the table in the way of driving anything forward. And, not even a good end to Freddy in this movie.
Yeah, but the good news is, I think the thing that we can all thank Nightmare on Elm Street 2 for is that we don't have to watch it. We can skip over it and it literally affects nothing. This movie is such a non-entity that you could just ignore it and the rest of the franchise just flows smoothly without it.
You can't do that with any other film too.
No, not even Jason movies.
Do that.
Yeah. Not even Jason movies that are just
number 6. You can't. Yeah, you can't not watch number 6. You got to see that one. There you go. It is without question, and am I going to call it now? Or should I watch The Dream Child again? But this traditionally so far has been the worst of the franchise for me. This one.
Of the ones we have watched, I will agree. Again, we have not at this point watched The Dream Child or Freddy's Dead. Both of which I remember as being pretty bad. Yeah. But right now, out of the ones I watched, 2 is absolute dog poopy. It is just the worst.
And there you go. So, yes, the next film we'll be reviewing, believe it or not, because we've done The Dream Warriors, we've done The Dream Master. But it did occur to me, having to go back and watch this because of my error of losing the first one, is Freddy seems keen a few times about this franchise, really using people to do his stuff. And it feels like when they get to the Dream Master, he's kind of learned from his experience in number 2. Rather than trying to use someone as a portal, he's going to use the people as bait. like he does in the Dream Master. So he's got to learn, hasn't he, in a way?
Yeah, I like
something out of this film.
I like seeing bad guys like Freddy Krueger learn from their mistakes and their past, and we see this come up quite a bit. So I don't know. Maybe I like to say this movie contributed nothing to the lore, but who knows? Maybe it did in a very minor way.
Very minor way. Very minor way. In many ways, I look at this film and go, it is actually outstanding achievement that they got number 3 up and going. Because this could have been the franchise killer very easily.
I think that Nightmare on Elm Street was such a phenomenon that whenever they came out with part 2, everybody came running regardless.
Made money. It cost $3 million and got $30 million in the US box office. So that's a 10 times return on your investment of $3. $3 million.
$3. Well, taking inflation into account,
And you think about it too. You know why this movie also made money? Because it's 87 minutes long. Guys,
absolutely.
Theaters make money. They love shorter movies because it means they make more money. They can get more screenings per day. They dread seeing a Christopher Nolan film get released. We're only going to be able to half-hour release. Yeah, this is a short movie. So you're in and out. So all the dumb stuff that we've been focusing, not some dumb, by the way, some things that are really important, but all the things we hated about the plot and the way they use their characters, it washes over you in 87 minutes. So when you first see it, you are nowhere near being flooded with the negativity that you uncover around the whole film and when you repeated watching. So, but I will say, even back in 1985, when I walked out of the cinema and seeing this film, I was not thrilled with it. I was not thrilled. Even as a child, it felt a lot different than the first one. So,
yeah, I didn't see this movie in theaters. I'm not as old as you, but I do remember seeing it on VHS. Right, I'm still not that old. But they took you to an R-rated movie whenever you were 11.
I went by myself.
I thought Elm Street had bad parents. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
no. I saw it on VHS. I remember being very disappointed with it. I did catch all the subtext; it didn't bother me. I just remember thinking, "Wow, this is just a really bad movie."
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what I felt too. It's just not a good movie. It wasn't fun to watch, and it's all because the climax of the movie was dumb. It was stupid.
Yes,
and that's the biggest flaw of the film. It's just stupid. There were so many more interesting ways they could have gone with these characters, and especially if you were going to really try to represent a gay character, you really and after what you've said there, Jason, it's actually made me think about maybe the perspective I was looking at from. You could have done something really, really cool with that, and you missed the boat. So, and I would have a feeling that was probably studio executives maybe getting a bit nervous about what was going on.
Probably. And we could sit here and talk endlessly about what they could have done differently, but in the end, I just think they screwed up the analogy. I just think that's probably that and breaking the rules of the mythos is really what messed this movie up.
To me, yeah. It's just not knowing what it had. I think that's what it is. It just doesn't know. At this point, it takes Wes Craven coming back and going, well, you can take these characters and go in this direction for this franchise to survive. That's what it took. Because it needed that. Well, you're getting locked into one person being a victim, battling against a demon, when, hey, like, you can do some amazing stuff here. What about the children of the parents who are now, like, gone nuts? We're putting them in mental institutions, Just opening the door in such a creative way that this movie was unable to do. But anyway, Jason, that ties it up.
Absolutely.
Well, we're done here. We're doing. We're done, and I've been recording, and I will not be losing this file because we've done it quietly.
Save it, back it up, put it on a zip drive. Oh my gosh, put it on a thumb drive. Put it in your pocket.
Zip cartridge, 250 meg.
Sorry, I'm old too.
What was I going to say? I don't think I'll ever watch this film again. Like, and it's
probably
not
won't.
because I don't hate the film. It's just I don't unless you go. We got to redo the review again for some reason. I don't think I would ever watch this again because there's so many other different, better versions of Freddy that we get to see.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's this one's to me. It's just very clumsy and it's just not pleasant. It's not fun to watch.
No. All right, guys. Well, we'll be curious to hear what you thought of this Friday the 13th movie that we didn't watch. We watched Nightmare on Elm Street 2, not Friday the 13th. It's all mashing together at this point.
It really is.
Please let us know what you thought, guys, about this film. And don't forget, if you have enjoyed watching it, to remember to like and subscribe and share the video. And go back and watch all our back catalogue. We have got some rippers out there for you guys to watch. So, and the next movie I do, but we announced it on our last show, but let's remind them again because I do believe,
yes.
Jason, this was a request.
Yes, it
we'll
was.
be doing Robot Jocks. Will be the
I've never seen it. I can't wait. I've never seen it.
So I think you're in for a bit of a treat. So that'll be the next thing popping up, and then after that, looks like we're back at Elm Street again, aren't we, Jace? Because there is a thing called the Dream Child that we must take a look at.
It sounds lovely. It sounds very thought-provoking. Yeah.
I think it's like a Hallmark movie, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
We'll find
with
out.
the name like the Dream Child, it's gotta be good.
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank God we've done that. I'm never watching that Freddy movie again.
No, we're not, which is why you are going to back this file up. You are going to put it onto physical media. You're going to back it up on your Google Drive. You're going to do whatever you can because God help me, if I have to watch a Nightmare on Elm Street 2, I'm buying a plane ticket. I am coming to Australia. I'm going to rip that beard right off your face.
We worked well together as a team.